DIV-E Sepid, the white demon of Mazandaran. The ancient terror that devoured kings, a Persian nightmare, the land where demons rule. In the ancient mountains of Mazandaran, where the Caspian Sea meets the towering peaks of the Alborz Range, there exists a realm where the very air reeks of malevolence. In some texts, the land of the Div is known as Mazandaran, not to be confused the present-day province in contemporary Iran. This is the kingdom of the Divs, the demonic servants of Ahriman, the Lord of Darkness himself. And among all these creatures of pure evil, none struck more terror into the hearts of men than DIV-E Sepid, the white demon. The Cursed Expedition. It was in the year when the pomegranate trees bore no fruit and the rivers ran backwards that Shah Kay Kāvus, the mighty king of Greater Iran, made his fatal decision. Despite the warnings of his wise counselors, despite the pleas of his soothsayers who read doom in every star, the king decided to conquer the demon-infested lands of Mazandaran. I am the descendant of Jamshid. He declared from his ivory throne, his voice echoing through the marble halls of Persepolis. No creature, mortal or demon, shall deny me dominion. 700 of his finest warriors answered his call. Veterans of countless battles, men who had never known fear, they marched into Mazandaran with silk banners flying and armor gleaming like captured sunlight. They had conquered armies of men. How difficult could it be to defeat a few demons? They would learn the answer in the most horrific way possible. The demon's domain. The moment they crossed into Mazandaran, the very world seemed to twist around them. In the younger Avesta, the divas are divinities that promote chaos and disorder. In later tradition and folklore, the Dews, Zoroastrian Middle Persian, New Persian divs, are personifications of every imaginable evil. The trees grew backwards, their roots reaching toward the sky. The sun appeared to move in the wrong direction. Horses refused to drink from streams that ran uphill, but it was the silence that truly unnerved them. In a land that should have been alive with the sounds of nature, there was only the whisper of wind through twisted branches and the distant echo of something that might have been laughter or screaming. On the third night, as the soldiers huddled around fires that cast shadows in the wrong directions, he came. In Iranian myths, DIV-E Sepid, or the White Demon, is a servant of the Ahriman Persian mythology, the chieftain of Divs, and lived in Mazandaran. He was massive beyond comprehension, a mountain of pale flesh that seemed to glow with its own malevolent light. His skin was the color of bleached bones, translucent in places, revealing the dark ichor that flowed through his veins like liquid night. His eyes were twin pools of molten sulfur, and when he opened his mouth, it was large enough to swallow a horse whole. Rows upon rows of fangs, each one longer than a man's sword, dripped with the blood of previous victims. His breath was the stench of 1,000 charnel houses, and his voice was the sound of mountains cracking apart. The devouring darkness.
Welcome, little king,
the white demon spoke, his words causing the very ground to tremble.
I have been so
hungry lately. What followed was not a battle, it was a harvest. The finest warriors of Iran, men who had stood against the charges of war elephants and faced down the arrows of 10,000 enemies, were swept aside like wheat before a scythe. Some were crushed by the demon's massive fists. Others were torn apart by claws that could rend steel like silk. Many were simply devoured whole, their screams echoing from within the creature's belly long after they disappeared. Kay Kāvus himself, the proud king who had thought himself invincible, was lifted like a child and hurled against the rocky walls of a cave. The white demon imprisoned Kay Kāvus, the king of Greater Iran, and his army in a cave. Those who survived the initial slaughter found themselves trapped in a prison of living stone, where the walls wept blood and the air itself seemed to conspire against them. The nightmare captivity. For months, the survivors endured torments that defied human comprehension. The white demon would visit them regularly, selecting victims for his amusement. Sometimes he would simply observe them, his sulfurous eyes studying their despair like a scholar reading a fascinating text. Other times, he would speak to them of the thousands of heroes he had devoured over the millennia, describing in exquisite detail the taste of their courage as it curdled into terror. It was only when the legendary hero Rostam arrived that the white demon's reign of terror finally ended. After a hard fight, Rostam killed the white demon and released the prisoners. But the battle was not won without cost. For 7 days and 7 nights, the two titans fought, their combat reshaping the very landscape around them. When Rostam finally drove his sword through the demon's heart, the creature's death scream shattered every mountain in Mazandaran. The blood that poured from his wounds was so toxic that it turned the ground black for miles around, and to this day, nothing grows in those cursed places. The legacy of terror. Even now, over 1,000 years later, the people of northern Iran speak of the white demon in hushed whispers. They say his spirit still haunts the mountains of Mazandaran, that his ghost can be seen on foggy nights, searching for new victims to drag back to his cave.